Our next inductee had a great journey too. A proud Monroe Academy Mustang. A sharpshooter in the days when sharpshooters weren't really rewarded. One season, while leading her team to the state title, she averaged 21 points a game. For her career, she scored over 1,600 points in basketball. And keep in mind, this was before there was a three-point shot. Can you imagine the numbers? If the three-pointer was in effect back then, hundreds of more points would have been scored, but still, pretty darn good as it was. One of the most outstanding players of her era. Also, tennis and track. She was an outstanding student and was the homecoming queen, and found time to do it all to earn entry into the Monroe County Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2023, Robbi Pippinger Richardson.
I wouldn't go there, no, sorry, I'm here to stay. If you're a mistake, then I am with you, for I am Mustang too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you to the chairman and committee members for choosing me to be included with all these other elite athletes. This is such an honor, and I never would have dreamed that I would be standing here tonight. First, I want to thank God for giving me the talent and the abilities that I have. Next, I would have to give credit to a vacuum cleaner system. That's what I had when I was growing up, this vacuum cleaner system. My family probably knows what I'm talking about, but I'll explain to the rest of you what this means. My parents built a house we moved to Macon when I was about 2 years old. I grew up in Macon, and my parents built a house, and my mom had a choice whether to have air conditioning, central air conditioning, or central vacuum cleaner system. Well, not being from Macon and knowing that the forecast in Macon is hot and humid, she chose the vacuum cleaner system. Well, we found out pretty quick that it was a lot cooler to be outside than it was inside our house. That vacuum cleaner system worked real well for a 2-story house, but that air conditioning would have been a lot nicer. But so what we discovered being outside, we found whatever we could do outside all day long. We were out most of the summer. I was riding bikes, jumping on my trampoline, hitting tennis balls against a brick wall, shooting basketball in our driveway. So most of our childhood, or my childhood, was being outside. My brother, who is 2.5 years older than I am, he pretty much takes credit for my athletic success. Mostly that is true. I do have to give him some credit. We were outside all the time, that even though we had our share of disagreements as a brother and sister, he's one I need to thank for teaching me how to play all the different sports, for teaching me how to shoot overhead shots instead of granny shots, and for always picking me to be on his team first. I got my start in tennis when I was about 10 years old. My mom entered me in tennis tournaments around Georgia during the summers when I was 10 and 11 years old. My brother and I started at Monroe Academy in 7th grade. He was in 9th grade when I was coming in 7th, and he encouraged me to go out for basketball in 7th grade. Well, I was a new kid in school, and I was shy, and I didn't know anyone. I didn't want to go out yet in 7th grade. But I did go out finally in 8th grade. That's when I got my start in varsity in 8th grade. It was about that time when it went from 6 players to 5 players. I kind of telling my age, but it's gone from 6 players to 5 players on the court. That girls use the same size basketball as boys. That came later. And then, as Frank mentioned, it was before 3-pointers were even heard of. I had some great coaches come along at Monroe Academy. One of them was Coach Casey Jones, who's here tonight. He taught me more than any of the others. And I really do. We really didn't quite understand what the ankle weights and running the bleachers and all those suicide drills were all about, but he knew he was developing a championship team. And so for him, I thank him for that. I thank my teammates who helped me to be as successful as I am, and for all the rides home after practices. There is no I in team. Thank you to my sisters and brother for always supporting me all these years, for always being at my games. I played tennis at Monroe, even though I wanted to play softball, but couldn't since they were at the same time. Track was a little different at Monroe. There was not any practicing or preparing for track meets. We were pretty much asked the day before to attend a track meet. Luckily, I could run fast, and I competed in the 50 and 100-yard dashes and didn't have to do those long relays. I was fortunate to continue my basketball career as a Mercer teddy bear. We were teddy bears back then, not lady bears. And while in college, I was finally able to play some softball. I played for my church, and then I ended up playing for the city of Macon. For my career, I did not choose to teach or coach, but I had the privilege to serve the families of Georgia for 26 and a half years. In between those 26 years, athletics found me again, and I did teach and coach for about 9 years in a private school sector. I'm now retired, living in Forsyth, and still find myself being an athlete, enjoying sports with my 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Sports have always been in my blood, and I learned lifelong attributes from playing them, such as getting along and respecting others, working hard to be successful, and picking yourself back up when you fail. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank my husband, my high school sweetheart, for being the best basketball manager, for being my #1 fan and support all these years. Because of him, I'm standing here tonight. Thank you so much.